welcome back to another episode of Single in the City.
Yeah.
My name is Tiara Berry, and I am here with my amazing, talented, but always opinionated co-host, Justin C. Gilbert, Genesis Moore, and we are so excited for today's episode. So without further ado, Genesis has some friends that have some questions. What's up, girl?
You know the friends, they be calling, they text, they got to get me all the way to and together. So, hey, I'm just a messenger. I just want everybody to know. Now, I have a friend. Now, this is not a female friend. This is my male friend. His name is Tony.
Hey,
for
Tony.
the purposes of this conversation.
Tony.
Tony. Now, Tony called me and said, I want you to ask your co-host what they think about this.
Okay.
So he's been with this girl, or he was with this girl for a year.
Mm-hmm.
They dated, they were in a serious relationship, you know, courtship, as we have called it in our previous episodes.
Okay.
They were in that phase. Okay. So it's pretty serious about each other, but then they mutually decided to cut it off.
Okay.
So they cut it off for about 6 months.
Okay.
You know, it's kind of like a conversation between the two of them, and it's like, hey, let's give this thing another try.
Okay.
So now they've given it another try, and he's like, I don't understand how I can communicate to her that we are not just jumping back into where we left off. He's like, we don't go together no more. I'm dating other people. I'm outside. We're dating. And us dating means that I can do what I want to do and you can do what you want to do. But until we build a new relationship, you know, you don't get kind of, I guess the hierarchy is what he was going in his mind off of. Like she was thinking like, you know, she comes back in and her presence is worth more than the other girls in his life. And he kind of made it clear it wasn't.
I would think so.
I would think so too. I had told Tony that, but I wanted to ask y'all, what y'all think? Speak to us.
I want to know what you over there writing down, sir. So what's up?
Well, I'm thinking about those 4 stages. Okay? We and from last season, people that's been with us, thank you for sticking.
Yes.
But we have the foundational, where that's when you're initially meeting, and then the building phase, where you're actually, you know, kind of chopping it up, learning things about each other, unpacking what potential is there. Then that moves into a courting phase, where you kind of eliminate all other contenders and put your focus on this person. And then lastly, the decision phase. By my guesstimation, and this is not proven, but this just came to me while you were speaking. I think that when there is some type of a breakup, I think you go back one phase.
Okay, just one phase.
Just one phase.
Okay.
So for
not
wherever
back
you're
to
at,
the bottom.
unless you're at building phase and
Okay.
you decide to
I
take
feel
a
like
break.
at 6 months, you back building.
Okay, so a person has, okay, so I agree. I absolutely agree, because they were in the courting phase. So you drop a level if there's a breakup.
Okay, and then run through the phases again for me one more time.
Foundational,
Foundational,
building,
building,
courting,
courting,
decision.
decision. Foundation, building, courting, decision.
Yes,
So they were in the courtship phase.
Yep.
Now they went back to the building phase.
we're back.
Okay.
Now we got to build some more.
Well, in his mind, I think he's looking for them to go back to the foundation phase.
Oh man,
He felt like there were some cracks in the foundation
well,
of what they started off. But he thought, you know, she seems like a great girl, but maybe we missed some things
That's important.
before we started getting up to some different levels. So I think in his mind, he wants to just start all over.
I'm not mad at that. Sometimes a reset is necessary.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to deconstruct to reconstruct.
Well, that's true. But you don't think he can do that from the building phase or at least courtship? Like they can't go back to, it's kind of hard to go back, you know, when you used to
I think
filet
the truth
mignon
of-
back to hamburger.
I think the truth of the matter is
I can attest.
he's playing a little bit, is what I
Okay.
think. I think if you were together for a whole year and you take a break for 6 months, yes, there may be things that we can work on, but how are we supposed to work on that if you still out here having a good time, like you single still, you know?
Yeah, well, I think he's just saying he felt it merited a second chance, but maybe not in that regard. Like maybe that deeper level. I don't know if, and here's another thing, which if I had Tony's phone number, I would, call him right now if I had my phone up here. But for Tony, I don't know if she was in the courtship phase. He was going through the motions of the courtship phase, but he wasn't mentally and emotionally there with her.
And that's likely what would lead to a breakup.
Yes. And so he's like, and I think this girl is a really great girl. Okay. And I would like to get to know her better.
He doesn't want to lose her.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's doing all the things he can to keep her.
Oh, no, definitely not.
And I think that's that's a
Careful.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean,
no
do
shade.
they ever?
I mean, no shade to Tony, because I would rather Tony be upfront and honest about where he's at currently. And don't tell me it is what it's not. So if it's not that we're together, I'm happy that Tony came forth and said that instead of leading her on or having her thinking things are what they're not. But at the same time, I think that she needs to be more mindful of what he acts on and way less of what he says things are. Because if he's doing all the things that a boyfriend would do in a relationship, but he's not willing to give you the title, then it has to be like, well, why not if you're doing this? But if he's also saying, hey, we're not together, but he's also doing things his way, he calls you sometimes, but not every morning, or, y'all go a day or two without talking, and he's basically establishing, hey, this is not what it was through his actions, then that's something she needs to continue to pay attention to and move accordingly.
I agree. And I'll tell you what I told Tony. I told him, I said, I don't think you want to be the type of man that you're not willing to rise up to her expectations of what she wants in a man. And then her expectations, they might be a little abrasive, aggressive, and a little early misput, just from knowing their relationship a little bit deeper. She is the kind of girl that is like, we go together or we don't. I want to get married. I want to have a...
Per usual.
Yes.
Hold my hand.
Yeah, hold my hand. She one of them,
Yeah, per usual.
So, but I think that he sees things in her that he does love.
Okay.
But maybe he's not in that phase of his life, and he's not been honest in communicating that to her and saying,
That's what it sounds like.
I see us in this light. And she's thinking that it's in a completely different light,
I feel what you're saying, and I don't disagree. But I do think sometimes in these instances, the conversations don't come up because that just naturally wouldn't necessarily just pop up to say, because a lot of times we get on in these situations and then we kind of go on autopilot and then it develops and feelings develop and then people have these expectations based on their previous situations that they bring to that situation. So it's like, I could see it not coming up. And I mean, yes, it would be great to, I guess, clear it up. But if we're not in that phase, that could seem premature and a little much for us as men. Like, often I've experienced women wanting to take next steps and put a title on it and let's get out. Absolutely. And I'm like, no, we're not on your schedule. I'll let you know. And as the leader, I think it's important for the man to lead in that way.
It's the alpha male for me.
It's important to lead that way and make it clear. So I would say once my perspective changes about where you fit in my life, I'll let you know. But a woman should never really have to ask, in my opinion. If he's not saying, then I don't think it's worth asking.
I would agree with that. And I think that has been something, a little off topic from Tony, but I just think that is a huge thing for women, right? Instead of asking or sitting down and having so what are we doing talk, I'd rather just take it as, you don't care what we're doing, and so I shouldn't care what we're doing. And I should be keeping my options open and reviewing a few more resumes before I get committed and give you the job of being that person in my life.
That's a good way of putting that.
Yeah, but I don't know. Some people say that's bad communication.
I mean, I think that I struggle with the men leading part, honestly, because I think that it takes two to tango, and we both need to be in the same space in our lives to say, hey, I'm ready for a relationship. Because I know for me, there has been men who like, hey, I want to be with you. I love you. We go together, hold my hand. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm not there. So it's like those situations, I think, come up.
Okay.
just as much as the situations come up where a woman wants more.
True.
Guys be wanting more too.
Yeah.
And I think it's about
More what?
being on the same, more out of a relationship.
Okay.
The exclusivity, to know, you know, the title, all the things that the women can want, men can want too.
Okay. Okay.
And I think it's more so about being in the same rhythm. So like Genesis was saying, I'm on what you on, and you're saying, you know, I'm leading and I'm making that decision. I think it's about what do we both want as individuals, and what are we both willing to sacrifice to make the other person happy.
Agree. It's like what me and my girlfriends talked about the other day. It's just like, I got the wrong men applying pressure. That's when they become bugs, you know? It's just one of those things.
Mosquitoes, right?
That sounds like what you described to me sounds like marriage. But we can't get to marriage if I'm not leading you first through these stages and then getting to decision phase. Then there's that autonomy where we're both making the decisions that we both want to see, and we're considering all of it becomes a us thing.
So let me ask you this, right? So if you say to a woman, hey, I'm ready to be in a relationship, and she says yes or no for me right now,
Okay.
you still gonna say, oh, well, since I'm the man and I said so, we together.
No, absolutely not.
So how does that work if you're ready and she's not?
If I'm ready and she's not, first of all, I would think reading the room is important, but if for some reason a man feels that, you know, compelled to share that he has this sentiment about it and he feels this way, he feels strongly about that, then, you know, and she's not into it, she's not into you, bro, and it's cool, keep it moving.
Yeah. Well, I think another piece that we're kind of missing is there is an earn trust phase, right?
Okay.
Where you
Okay.
have to earn trust within your partner. And I, if I'm understanding correctly, I think that's what you might be talking about, T, is there has to be a spot where a man has come in, and it's not I'm gonna give you small tests or small things to show leadership on. But really, in the start of a relationship, it's you together. You know, it has to be a mutual, do I like you? A mutual, are we good together?
Yes,
A mutual thing.
yes.
Do I like how you handle business? Do I trust you to make restaurant reservations at a place that I would like to go to? Or are we gonna go to that same raggedy sports bar down the street from your house every time? I might not trust you to make my food reservations no more. After you did it once, that might be on me. That might be an area where I can, you know, lead in our relationship. But I think you don't really get to that point of understanding the leadership or really respecting a man's leadership to go to another phase until you guys have had more experience together and you've developed the trust and a mutual trust with one another. So I think that's such a big thing, is like, you know, in a respect. I listen to a lot of women, and sometimes it does boil down to, you know, just having that level of respect for a man to do what he does, even if he messes up, because you know they're gonna mess up sometime in the middle of it. But giving that grace and
Grace
say, how does he handle the mess up?
Grace is a
That's
good
what's
word.
gonna give me the trust in you.
How does he
to
recover?
allow you
Right.
to lead our relationship to the next level? Because eventually, like, I look at it like when we're in the courtship and decision phase, that is when I'm trusting you wholeheartedly to lead in major areas of our relationship.
Okay.
And we have communicated on what areas you lead and what areas I lead.
Okay.
Because you might not be good with the finances. That might be me.
Okay.
You might not be good with cleaning up. Your definition of clean might be straightening up. And I'm not a straightening upper.
Okay.
You know, I need it cleaned. I need you to get up in there, get deep up in
Please,
it. So that
baseboards.
might be something that, you know, I'm better in the leadership phase. But like I said, you just have to earn trust, and that is through those beginning phases.
Because if I get in the car with you, I just got to know where we're going.
Yeah, and then after a while, after you ask a couple times where we going, then the third or fourth time you get in the car, you might be like, it don't matter, I'm just here to do it for a good time. I know wherever we going, he gonna take me somewhere nice because I trust him in that regard. You know, but it is you got to get to know a person. And that just be the thing for me with dating these days, is I feel like even with Tony, I told him, I said, you got to really, really reach to get to know her.
Right.
And understand what she wants. And if that does not align with what you want and you don't know what you want, then you need to let homegirl go.
Easily.
She's not for you.
Yep.
Well, that puts a button on that. Tony, you're in our prayers, bro. For for you out there, stay tuned. You don't want to miss the rest of this episode of Single in the City.
Well, look, you might not be popular, but my favorite character is Celestial because
So one of the quotes that I wrote down in the book that kind of stood out to me was, "Love is the enemy of sound judgment."
She seemed like a very needy woman. And I can't even respect Andre because how do you prey on your friend's wife while he's incarcerated? Like, I just can't get with that. And maybe I got too invested in the book, That's the
Part-time job, full-time hustle, all-time Shiro to all of us. You nurture, we listen. You teach, we thrive. You lift our spirits, but we've got to lay down the truth. It's time for you, our Shiro, to stretch for the stars. A free online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Start saving more for retirement so you can feel prepared and live your life to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Nice.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Single in the City. Once again, I'm your host, Genesis Moore, with my two amazing co-hosts, Mr. Justin C. Gilbert and Miss Tiara Berry. All right, so we've been talking about this thing of communicating, I guess, your expectations, if you will.
Yes.
Between the other person that you're with, right?
Right.
So I wanted to know from you guys, when you are communicating with your significant other, what are some tactics that you guys use to either get your point across or to slow down a conversation you feel might be a little too heated, or to get the results that you want out of a person? How do y'all mitigate all that, especially when you're speaking to somebody you love?
It's a lot of different tactics.
So many,
that
and-
you can use.
Yeah.
I mean, do y'all have what's like your number one? Give me like your top two.
Okay.
Go first.
Well, I can say I have noticed growth in my communication within my relationships, period, not just the romantic ones.
Okay.
But whenever things get heated, take a break.
That's good.
Take a break, unplug. 5 minutes, let's at least, you know what I'm saying? Like some people have different coping mechanisms. So like some people need to sleep on it. I'm getting quicker with my, recovery time, like from a blow up. So it's like, if I can have
That's
about
good.
15, 20 minutes to myself, let's bring that energy back down and let's try it again.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I like
so
that.
that's
good.
one, taking
That's
a
a good
break. And something that I've noticed to be helpful in my relationships with women, not just the romantic ones, is to provide reassurance. So even if it's something that you've
that's
said
good.
before, say it again, just to settle that woman, just to let her know that you're thinking about what y'all talked about, and let her know where you're mindful and you're cognizant of
Her needs.
you overstand the situation.
Yeah.
you know?
Okay.
That's good.
That's really good. I love that last one too.
All right, so we talk
you.
about our positive traits or our
Here
negative
we
traits in
go.
terms of communication. Because I am a
what are your
multifaceted
tactics?
person.
What are your tactics?
My toxic tactics
No.
are like,
Well, I mean, well, give them all to
Come
us.
on.
I'll say one.
List
Let's
yourself
start
for
with the
it.
bad, and then we can go to good.
Okay.
I get eerily quiet when I'm upset.
Okay.
Like quiet to the point that I make a whole room uncomfortable.
Okay.
So we be on the phone. You say something, I just ain't gonna say nothing for like 20 minutes. Why you so quiet? And that's the question that I get asked is why you're so quiet. And I think for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's about taking that pause that you talk about but I just ain't got nothing to say at that moment. Because if I blow up, it can result in me saying things that I would have wished I didn't say.
Yeah.
So I think that my pauses can serve to a disadvantage because I think I'm still learning how to communicate. So I think the way I protect my like inner child is like I just need to like be left alone and be quiet and closed off and shut out people.
Real.
And that's not always a good thing in relationships, especially because communication is so strong. So how can someone know what they did to upset you if I've been quiet for the last 20 minutes? After they could have said 3 or 4 things that made me mad, they could have just said one thing that made me mad. But I've been quiet for so long, they didn't even realize, like, oh, I just realized you're
Well, let me
upset.
ask you: are you doing it with the intention of being petty? Are you doing it with the intention of, like, let me be quiet because I don't have nothing nice to say?
It's a bit of both.
Okay.
Because
real.
I feel like
That's real.
I play on the fact that I know people will get concerned.
Like,
And
what's
they be like,
happening?
this girl crazy. What's she about to say? What is she gonna do? So I think that that's a communication style that I need to work on. With something good that I think I do when I'm ready to talk about something, I want to leave no stone unturned when we finally have those conversations.
Okay.
Because I think that's a part of the healing process when you're trying to fix things or make things better. So once I am ready to talk about it, I want you to get everything off your chest. Say things that you think is going to break my heart, hurt me, everything. And I'll do the same because I believe in transparency. And I believe in once this conversation is over, if we're able to move past it, I don't want to rehash later on.
Facts.
You know?
Facts.
Yeah,
That's good.
That's good. That's really good. That it seems like you're very self-aware too of how your communication style affects other people. And I think
that's an only child thing.
Well, no, that's good though. You know, because I know for me sometimes, and this is just my true Sag nature, you know, if we're going off what people say the zodiac signs, but I am blunt, and sometimes I don't always put it. I've learned as I've gotten older to put it where people can receive it.
Right.
Because before I used to just be, if I feel a certain way, it's just, I don't like that. I don't like you. Why would you think that? That was dumb. And then, you know, I walk away and I'm thinking, oh my God, why are their feelings hurt? They took this so hard. They're being so sensitive about this. And I just told them the truth,
Right.
you know?
That part.
But it's a little, so I've learned to put it where people can receive it. And I think one of my biggest things that I do now is I have this thing called the pregnant pause. And it's like a thing now between me and my friends. We always say, let me take a pregnant pause. I don't have to respond right now. I don't have to text you back right now. I don't have to, you know, if we're in a conversation, hey, okay, give me a second so I can figure out what I'm trying to say to you and how I want to say it to you, you know? And being conscious of, is this going to give me the reaction I want out of this person? Is this going to make them more mad? Are we going to be even more angry when we leave this?
Right.
So to me, the pregnant pause, or I guess for me, has worked wonders in all my relationships, work, family, friends.
Exactly.
You know,
I think that's
lovers.
good for all relationships because I think we do have to learn how to take better pauses. Simply because we live in such a microwave, like instantaneous society,
Oh yeah.
where we can get information as soon as we want it. So if I wanted to know the highest mountain in the world, I can just Google that and get that answer.
Right.
And I think in relationships of all kinds, we look for those answers immediately, like we can pull stuff up on our phone.
Wow.
But I can't, and I've done this in the past. I've Googled, he did this, so how does he feel about me?
Yeah, me too.
I'm
I've
trying
done
to
that,
like
for
find
sure.
answers because the person that I'm asking is not ready to answer that question in a way to validate what I need from them. So I think that we're all learning what it means to take those pauses and be cautious when dealing with others because everybody may not be on the same timeline as we are, and that's something that should be respected instead of the society we live in where it's just, oh, just keep scrolling. You'll find the answer, you know?
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. And I think it's super important because communication is the oxygen of relationships. Like I often say that. And I think that as we navigate these, like any tension, it's important to use our words wisely because those words are like bullets. You know what I'm saying? Once they come out your mouth, you can't get it back. And sometimes the impact is everlasting. So, I know something that's been helpful to me that I think I just want to share with the brethren out there. Fellas, this is for you.
Always for the fellas.
You know what I'm saying? And as I should be. I'm
Enlighten
I'm
us
a
all,
champion
please.
for
We
us.
listening in. We eavesdropping. What's for the fellas?
Okay, so fellas, listen. I have learned. I love wisdom, and I'm a person that loves to be around people that are wise. Sometimes much older, sometimes younger, but wisdom nonetheless. I've learned to evaluate women based on y'all's intentions, not your actions.
Okay.
Thereby, that eliminates the frustration at how you did a thing when I consider the why you did a thing. And that kind of has given me so much peace. That has helped me tremendously. And it's diffused several situations that could have been like, okay, like I feel disrespected or I feel a certain way. But when I consider that this woman was trying to help, then I have to kind of pump the brakes and reevaluate my approach, you know what I'm saying, and what I give back to that woman. So
Yeah, we all gotta give each other some grace. You know,
absolutely.
at some point. You know?
I think that's
Some more
not,
than others.
I don't think that's the intention. I'm not sure if the intention thing is only for the men. I think it's for the women too. Because, that's for everyone. Everyone loves differently. Everyone receives love differently. Even if you do the love language test, right? And they say, oh, this is your thing, this other stuff. You're still gonna be with somebody. They could do everything on that, love language test to the T, and you still not all the way feel fulfilled, if that makes sense, with being with that person or feeling like that you're getting the love that you need in order to nurture your relationship to grow. So intention is the number one thing. And I think people should be judged off of their intention because that shows the true character of their heart.
Right.
And that lets you know who you're dealing with and if you can deal with that person long term, in my opinion.
Facts. Spirit. Yes. When I hear the word intention, I think of spirit. The spirit that something is done in.
Yes,
you
absolutely. That was a great way to put it.
So I feel that.
Ooh, I can feel the spirit on that one. What do you do, y'all? That was an awesome conversation that we just had about communicating, intentions, our spirits.
Yes.
And keep it locked right here for a more spiritual conversation.
Every discipline starts with creating a habit. Find a plan that works for you. I know you can put a reminder in your phone, call so-and-so in 30 days. You can't use the excuse that, I'm an introvert or I'm an extrovert, stuff people like to say. Nah, if you're not outgoing, right, you better get going because that's the only way networking works.
My Shiro doesn't always wear a cape, but she always has time for a hug, a smile, for going the extra mile. My Shiro stretches every dollar, puts in long hours, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. When you're ready to retire, we want you to be able to enjoy it. It's time to start saving now. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro.
Are you finding that people are truthful online more, or maybe not so much?
There's a lot of filters that women have. There's a lot of things that you really don't know that person until you actually meet them in person.
So in other words, you guys are being catfish.
Definitely.
Welcome back to Single in the City. We are having some very spirited conversations right here with these lovely the flowers of Single in the City, Miss Genesis Moore and Tiara Berry. I'm Justin C. Gilbert, by the way. Today, we're talking all things communication, intention and or spirit. And we're talking about helpful ways of deciphering communications between Venus and Mars.
Let's crack the code.
You know what I'm saying? So let's get into it. It's interesting that I think that in general, women use certain words differently than men do.
I can agree with that.
You know, and it's sometimes it's loaded, sometimes it's hidden. I think a lot of times men are none the wiser, and certain things can flow right over their heads. But I know that if a woman tells me that she used to have fun with a certain gentleman, I know what time it is.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
And y'all do too. You do.
I don't know if I
could
would
see
say
it.
it like that.
okay.
If the
We had a
word
good time.
fun comes up,
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
then
I had a good time.
that I understood.
Fun?
Wow, that was so crazy. That I understood. That I
We had a
didn't.
good
Okay.
time.
I
okay,
see your
so
point. I see your point.
okay, cool. So case in point. So what are your thoughts on these communications between Venus and Mars, and how can we do this better? Is there a way to is there some type of way that we could build and understand each other better?
I think that has a lot to do with the friendship aspect of a relationship. Because I think that is what helps you understand the things people say, why they say it, and how they say it, and what they mean when they say it. Because a lot of times, if you're just dating and you're not really getting to know who this person is or why they say the things they say and how they say it, it's a lot of things you can find offensive early on. And I think the longer you know a person, how they act and how they react, it's easier to gauge what they're trying to say.
Facts.
I agree. I definitely think the friendship aspect is very important. And I think also to ask questions, like follow-up questions, is a really good way to understand what people are saying, because they might have a certain way of communicating that they've done it their entire life with their family, with their exes, with themselves, and, so just getting a better understanding of, so you said this, but you say you like me. Walk me through that. Like when you
That's
say
very corporate of you to say, to ask them to walk it.
yeah,
Walk
I
me
mean,
through that.
look, I'm a corporate girl. Look, I'm a corporate thug out here now. I don't want to, but I am.
My thing, let's build the plane as we fly it.
I be like, no. Let's check the engine light first before we get up in the air.
Yeah.
So walk me through it. But that's something that I think would be very helpful, is that people don't always ask follow-up questions to get a better understanding. They just almost like guess. Or they'll stop and say, like, oh, I know what you're trying to say. And it'd be like, that's so not where I was going with that.
Well,
It's different.
I think that what they associate with certain words, that determines how they interpret what they hear.
Yeah.
And when you spoke about friendship, that hit me and just reminded me that we all need to have platonic friends of the opposite sex, so we can experience that banter and that exchange in more than one way. You know what I'm saying? So we can have
Definitely
a better
helpful.
understanding of folks. But no, you ladies are, y'all are dead on, spot on with this one.
Yeah, I think for some of us, some words could trigger us,
True.
Like I know there's a sentence that you have for women and what they should do that triggers me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Would you like to share?
Well, okay, wait. Before we do that, I got an idea.
Okay.
All right?
What you got?
How about we do it like this? And I think this would be helpful for our viewers at home, too.
Oh, boy.
She messy,
Justin.
y'all. She messy. She messy.
I just see an area of opportunity here. So what I was going to say is, what if, Justin, you say this sentence, because we have off-camera conversations, which I think this would be good to bring the audience in on. But say what you feel a woman's duty or whatever. You know the sentence I'm talking about, right? You know the sentence that
So
that
you
triggers
just want
her.
me to go into a no context, just say it. I'm going to say it.
Okay, well,
I'm going to say it. No, I'm
I'll
going to say
give
it.
you context. Well, okay, hold on. Let me finish. Then, Tiara, I want you to repeat back to him what you hear.
Yep. And this is for all the women who were so in love with the prayer he had to hear how he really thinking. Come on, Bishop.
So look, Justin, you say what you feel the primary role of a woman is in a man's life. Say it the way you say it.
Okay.
And then Tierra, of course, you come back and you let us know what you heard. And I'm just an impartial, innocent bystander with a non-biased opinion in this conversation. I'm here. I'm just here for fun. Justin?
Okay.
Well.
And I'll preface this with saying that I got this. This is biblical. I didn't make this up.
Okay.
This is almost in red. You know what I'm saying?
Almost. Okay.
Almost.
It's in burgundy.
Not Jesus said it.
But
Jesus himself.
Right.
God. But women were designed to be helpers. That is your first assignment. I think that was the first thing that was intended when God made you all.
For what purpose?
To help a man that, that of course already manages so much with his garden and his animals and himself, and a man that has his thing together. I think that
If
y'all
he had his thing together, we wouldn't have to help.
and that's
Okay.
the
well,
issue.
All right.
Flag on the
Yeah.
plate. So Justin said his piece. Tierra, tell us what you heard.
When I hear women were designed to be helpers, I hear that women are minuscule to men. I hear that women's assignment isn't to be in God's image. Because if we were all made in his image, right, then I don't hear the part where God is seen as more than just how a man is supposed to be seen in God's image. I think that women are separate from men in a lot of ways. And I feel like, yes, we can be there to help, but at the same time, that's not our sole purpose and that's not our only assignment.
Okay. So and you heard him say
that women's sole assignment is to be there for the man.
And I didn't say that.
Okay.
And I
All
think
right.
that's important to point out. I didn't say that.
Okay. So, and this is a communication thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're working on it.
What he said made you feel that way? Was it a word? Was it how he said it? Was it how he articulated it? What was it about that made you think minuscule to men? We're only here to be, we're not made in the same image. We're made in a lesser image than what men are in God's eyes. And what was the last point?
She said the assignment.
Oh, our sole assignment.
Our sole
to be the
assignment.
helpmate. What's triggering about that?
Mm-hmm. Or what made you derive that conclusion from what he said?
It's what I heard. What I heard plain as day. You could run the tape back and I would still say it again. That's exactly what I heard. I think that when we think about ourselves as individuals, I think we always think a little bit selfishly, and that's fine because we're self-preserving. It's survival of the fittest and things like that.
Okay.
So I think from a man's perspective, he sees a woman as being there to help him. All's fine and dandy. But I think that at the same time, God could have just seen that this man is not handling it well by himself. And if she's there to be help, it's also because she's supposed to serve in a position that is not only helpful to him, but it's helpful for the kingdom.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's bigger than just what the assignment is of that man. It's the assignment that God has for them as individuals and also as together.
Okay.
In my opinion.
That's great. Now, Justin, I could throw it back to you.
Okay.
After hearing what she said, would you, and if so, can you please change the way that you said it so that she understands it not from the lens of what I'm hearing is a lesser value of a woman than a man, and still articulate your point of a woman's role? Is there a way that you can do that?
I'm not sure if it is, because a very, very pivotal word in my whole framing of the whole thing was primary, meaning first. So when Eve came into the picture, you know what I'm saying, God determined that Adam, he shouldn't be alone. Let's get him Let's get him some help going on down here. You know what I'm saying? That was primary. So I almost can't without not, you know what I'm saying, being authentic in my delivery and actually telling you how I see it. Now, I can do it this way. I could say, I find women to be so valuable. I wouldn't be the man that I am without the help that I've had from women all my life. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a woman.
Right. And
I appreciate the help that a woman provides.
okay.
I think, and I like that. And it's not because it's I know it's not, but it's not because you were just complimenting us, which, I mean, the things you said were true. But I also think that we have to allow space for the women who don't always end up in the relationships that they see and feel like their not sole purpose, but even if it's not their primary, some women, they don't end up in those relationships that they can say, I was successful at a marriage or I was successful in a relationship and I helped make a man to be who he is today.
Yeah.
But they still had an assignment from God that brought them to earth
Mm-hmm.
that made their life worth the living.
Of course.
You know? And I think that if a woman ends up just having children or she's just very successful in her career and I know in the past episode, Pastor said she still died empty. I think it's good to acknowledge those type of women, the Harriet Tubmans and the things like that, who her assignment or what happened during her lived experience had nothing to do with her soulmate, you know. But I do think that she was sent here to do things for a movement and to spark change. And I think that when we acknowledge women's assignments separate from men, we get to shed light on all of the women who, even though they weren't romantically involved in ways that made history, in their own right and according to God's purpose, they still had significant impact. And I like to be that kind of woman.
Yes.
I like
was
that.
Well said.
You know?
Question though. So in all that Harriet Tubman did, would you not say she helped humanity?
She did. Men and women.
Exactly.
Babies too.
Exactly.
Maybe some goats.
So
You don't
I
know.
think if I could interject, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think what I'm hearing is the value placed on the woman and the light. Because when you said it the second time, it made it seem like you valued women more. Like you gave the compliment, right? But then the first time, it spoke to specifically the role that women play to a man. And so that brings me to my next question. Do you guys think, you don't agree?
I spoke to the role that Eve played to Adam, and that being the first woman, that was the primary reason that God sent her for him.
Okay, was to help. Yeah, primary reason was to help.
Primary.
Help her man. Right.
That was their situation.
Well,
that was specific.
See?
So but
if that was a specific situation, or that's how we should base all our lives.
Listen, I think if it is biblical and we are Christians, why wouldn't we?
okay.
But if that's specific to them, why would we?
Does it have no credence or no that doesn't show up in your life anyway? That completely doesn't fit the scope?
Well, let me briefly interject here, because I think this will kind of help all of us to better understand.
Okay.
Right? Is it possible for a woman to do both? So I think what I heard from what you guys were saying was yours was more involved in the relationship between a woman and her significant person that she's romantically involved in. Yours spoke to a woman's purpose, her life purpose. Maybe not in the primary role, her primary role in the relationship or whatever. And a lot of men feel this way. I had this conversation with my brother-in-law too. Okay. And he said, women are designed to be the helpmates, of their men. Now, I'm not gonna lie. That's very, bold of him to say, because his wife makes a lot of money. And she is an executive at a major, bank.
Come on.
Like she is
Come on, sis.
on a global scale. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So to say that, I think what Tierra is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that it sounds like the purpose is not as important. The outward purpose is not as important as the inward purpose with the man, right? As far as the help. But I also think you guys are speaking to two different points. Is there a way that you can do both?
I think so.
I think so. I think that's the only way to do life well. I think by having your own aspirations and your own dream. Listen, because we are all a product of our dreams, but we're also participating in everybody else's.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the fact that a woman can be successful outside of the home, still her ministry at home to her husband is to be a helper to him. And, you know, if I can borrow the words of our illustrious pastor, to be like a second Holy Ghost to him and tell him things that he can't see. Utilize her femininity to benefit the both of them and uplift them both while that man is serving. That I'm not by any way saying that the man shouldn't be helpful and serving. I think that as a man, we should enhance wherever we find ourselves. We should water wherever we're planted, and we should make things better by our presence.
So do you think that that's a mutual effort? If a woman is a helpmate, is a man not an equivalent helpmate?
That's not our primary thing, because that's like saying to a CEO that he needs to help someone that's working in the mailroom when there wouldn't be a mailroom if it wasn't for the CEO, to me. And I could be missing what you're saying, but I think that the help, we're to help each other. We're to uplift each other. There has to be leadership. There has to be order. And we can't be we just can't be on the same level.
And I'm attracted to that CEO who will go into the mailroom, because to me that shows humility. So I think it's just different perspective.
Should he have to, though? And should someone from the mailroom be requesting that he come to do a job that they've been hired to do?
I mean, I think it's about, to me, it's just about respect, because I feel like whoever is in the mailroom, whoever is the CEO, the person that's in the mailroom can have perspectives and offer guidance to a CEO, just like a CEO can offer guidance to someone in the mailroom. To me, titles are just titles. People could do a large sorts of things.
Okay.
So I think that for a CEO to go into a room, or for a man to jump in and help a woman, should be equivalent to a woman jumping in for a man, because that way a man can see all it takes for a woman to be able to do the things that she does. Because just because the CEO is in this light and it seems like he works the hardest, people in the mailroom, they're busting their butts off to make things happen behind closed doors, and they don't always get the recognition, the respect that they deserve because of their smaller title. So I think that men should always humble themselves and in a way do what the wives do sometimes, just so they could see all that it takes. That's why it's a lot of times you have these households where the man is the head of the household, but let mom go away for 2 weeks and leave 3 kids at home. By the time she comes back, he's going to be like, oh, I can't do this without you. And I do think it would take for that CEO to go down to the mailroom and have those experiences that women have every day, the CEO being a man, and the mailroom person being a woman, and see those experiences. That way we could always appreciate each other and the different perspectives, the things that we offer, what we're able to do, and also respect our differences and our uniquenesses, but come together to make change.
I love it. It's still one-sided, though, because the mailroom person is never going to occupy the CEO's desk. They're never going to come up there. They don't know what it entails. It's a different job description. And while it may be more glamorous, it's a lot more to lose. It's a lot more tension. It's a lot more pressure. And so not to say that everyone's role isn't vital, but we got to call a spade a spade.
So in 2022, with the statistics of women likely not getting married, but still holding it down, still becoming CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, might I add, what is the big difference between a husband and a wife in this era? Is it the financials? Is it the earning power? Is it their ability to raise kids? What is it?
I'd like to jump in here.
Please.
I think it's a role. And if I'm listening to what both of you guys are saying, I do personally feel that we all live in a space of duality. That's just the society that we live in, right? So it's like you could have some rock star women out there and men that are really, really good at what they do in their day-to-day that aligns with their purpose and what they, hopefully it's aligned with their purpose and not just their job.
Yeah.
But, and they're awesome at that.
Yes.
But it's a different level, I think, of what people take into account when it comes to being effective in a household. And being effective in a household requires taking off, like, you are no longer that person that you are when you walk out that door.
That's right.
When you walk in the house.
Facts.
You are in a sense, but that's not your job. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not your role at that moment. So I do think, like, when you go into being in the husband and wife position, there has to be an understanding of the same thing and a mutual respect of, it takes a lot to be a husband. There's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of accountability in that regard. And I'm just a firm believer in, if something goes wrong, I know exactly who to point to on who it went wrong.
Absolutely.
Because this was in your job.
Absolutely.
And you can't pass the buck on over to so-and-so and so-and-so because this was on you.
That's right.
So I do think in that regard, there is a thing where husbands, and we're talking about men here. I want to just also say this, that don't mind being the primary, provider in a house. They don't mind being, and they know that that's their role. They don't mind being the head of the household and having all of those responsibilities that come with it as far as, doing the hard labor, the heavy lifting of what it takes to run a family.
Right.
I don't want to do no heavy lifting when they come home to take in no family, I feel like, and if my heavy lifting might seem heavy to you, because I just might be better at it, but your heavy lifting might seem heavy to me and be like something that I just would never want to do.
Right.
So I think when we talk about roles, it really comes down in the communication to defining what that role looks like within your household and within your relationship. And it doesn't mean that, what you do is more important or what I do is less important, because you better believe it. If the mailman wasn't coming up there bringing them bills, the CEO gonna come to a building with no lights on.
That's right.
You get what I'm saying?
That's right.
Everybody has their part to play. Everybody has their role. And you can switch up and do different things in your role and kind of, change it up as you go.
Right.
But I think not being so stuck to one idea or one plan, but being able to respect and be fluid is what's most important in the communication.
I absolutely
But
agree.
I mean, that's just my opinion off of what you guys are
I
talking about.
think that's great.
That's awesome.
I think that's great. I appreciate how you put that. I feel like you covered all the bases.
Yeah.
You covered all the bases.
With that being said, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Single in the City, and we will see you all next week.
You're my lucky strike.